Right, what a game we have as the second part of today's Super Sunday. Chelsea, under new head coach Mauricio Pochettino, taking on Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. Let's head there now and join our senior reporter, Melissa Reddy. Melissa, good to see you. The battle between these two sides, though, it's already started off the pitch, hasn't it?
Yes, these teams are battling on three fronts. Obviously, most importantly and primarily today, here on the pitch at Stamford Bridge, but also in terms of the transfer window for Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia. Let's start with Caicedo because that will be quite significant. It will be a British record transfer deal, whichever club he goes to. Chelsea have spent the entirety of the summer pursuing him. It's actually been probably around 3 months long of a heavy pursuit in which they had a free run at Caicedo. They've been negotiating with Brighton, had several bids turned down because Brighton were holding to their valuation of £100 million. Chelsea thought they were the only team in the mix for Caicedo until Thursday, when Liverpool really entered the fray, finding out from Brighton what would it take to get a deal over the line. There was an auction with a deadline of midnight, and Liverpool placed a £111 million bid, which was the highest. So Brighton agreed terms with Liverpool, but Caicedo's preference has been Chelsea. And because he stated that to all parties, it brought Chelsea back to the negotiating table. Now, per my last conversation with Brighton, the only club to have an agreement with them at the moment is Liverpool, but Chelsea working hard to get an agreement over the line to the tune of about £115 million. There's talks about how the add-ons would work, the structure of a deal, still work for them to do in that regard. Then with Lavia, it's the inverse. Liverpool had spent pretty much the entire summer pursuing him, even prior to Jordan Henderson and Fabinho leaving. Now, the idea for Lavia was that he'd come in for a season, learn under Fabinho. That obviously changed with the Brazilian exiting to Saudi Arabia, and that intensified Liverpool's need for a defensive midfielder. They had 3 bids for him rejected by Southampton, who want upwards of £50 million. Now, the last of those bids was £46 million. Chelsea entered the equation for Lavia once Liverpool moved for Caicedo. And Chelsea, as it stands, have been in talks with Southampton for a deal in the region of £55 million. So the teams battling, like we said, in the transfer market, on the pitch. Both players, the sense at the moment is that they will go to Chelsea. Caicedo because it has been his preference, and with Lavia because Chelsea have the highest bid on the table so far, or the highest verbal offer on the table so far for him.
It's been a brilliant transfer window so far, hasn't it, Melissa? It's not finished yet, but on the pitch, what can we expect from Mauricio Pochettino's Chelsea?
Yeah, we've seen already during pre-season quite a different looking Chelsea, not just in terms of the faces. Obviously, there's been a lot of trimming off the squad, but in terms of their organization, much better all across the pitch, which was severely lacking last season. Players didn't really have defined roles. They didn't know how they fitted in individually nor collectively. Pochettino's changed that. We've seen a much more functional and synchronized press, greater movements into the opposition box. They're trying to do midfield overloads a lot more. So more in keeping with the Pochettino teams that we remember from his days at Southampton and Tottenham. The issue for Chelsea is that a lot of the great stuff they did during pre-season was born out of Christopher Nkunku, and he's picked up a knee injury that will keep him out until January. So Pochettino has to find a way to get the dynamism and energy he produced now in his absence. But Nicholas Jackson has also been superb for Chelsea, and the home fans here want to see him continue that today against Liverpool.
Yeah, Melissa, thank you. Right, you can see that James Savundra has joined us on set. We're going to talk transfers with him in just a moment to bring us up to the latest. But with Dean and Jamie talking about Moises Caicedo there and Romeo Lavia and this tug of war between Chelsea and Liverpool, Who needs those two midfielders more? I'll ask a former central midfielder now.
I think both. I'd say both of them need midfielders. I think Chelsea are a bit bare at the moment. You know, they've got Enzo Fernandez. I think Caicedo, you bring him in to the football club, he's going to be, you know, something special. I think his preference is Chelsea. But Liverpool have got a new look midfield as well. So bringing in, they both need reinforcements, and they're both top players. This Lavia and Caicedo were, you know, something special. And I think if Chelsea get both of them, I mean, it's almost unfair, isn't it? You know, like, you know, Liverpool all of a sudden have stumped up some cash finally and gone, right, we're going to give you 110 million quid. And Caicedo turns around and says, no, actually, you know, I'm going to go Chelsea. Yeah. They never spend that money. So it's crazy, really, the amount of money that's being thrown around. But Caicedo's a top player.
Dean, I know James is going to laugh at this, but if you're Southampton and Brighton, Southampton say we want 50 million for Lavia, and Brighton say we want 100 million for Caicedo, and suddenly they're going to get 55 and 115. I mean, what's going on in the market with those fees?
Well, what's going on is once you get that tug of war between two massive clubs that need that position filling, I think Liverpool more so than Chelsea, because they bought Enzo Fernandez last year for that role that Caicedo they're looking at. I think it just, you know, it shows that the market's gone mad for a start. You know, to think personally that, you know, you're looking at spending 115 million on a player that you've already spent 100 million on the previous season in Enzo sounds crazy to me. And I think it hurts Liverpool because, you know, Liverpool haven't looked as if they were going to go that far for a Jude Bellingham, for example, and then all of a sudden they come in and look to pay that money for a Caicedo and then get gazumped. I think that's a bad look really for Liverpool. But Chelsea, like James said, it's almost ludicrous.